Hey there, BJ O'Neill here with Business Coach Mastery. In this training, I'm going to show you how in our community, in our Business Coach Mastery community, how we use a tool that shows business owners how they can double the profits of their business, okay? Tools are important. They really are. And we have a number of them. I'm going to show you one that we use today that's called a simulation tool. And it just simply visually helps them to recognize how they can increase small incremental percentage increases in multiple business areas. I'm going to share with you, get my words out, share with you exactly what that looks like. So when we talk about strategies, all right, there's a number of things that a business has to do to function properly, right? They got to hire the right people. They have to, either the culture is going to determine itself or the business owner, the leader, is going to determine the culture, one way or the other. And then you gotta be focused, someone in the business must be focused on business building strategies. But the reality is that's really not what happens. Most businesses just go out and tactically do things, and they're not really thinking strategically. Here's an example. Back in the day, you may remember McDonald's, one of my favorite stories about strategies, where a very smart executive said, we're going to test a new strategy at the point of sale, in other words, at the cash register back then. And the question that we're going to ask is, would you like fries with that? You may remember that. And what they simply were doing, that's called a cross-sell. They made it simple to add on and to cross-sell. In other words, move that item over and put it on the counter too, because so many people said, sure. And so nearly overnight, their revenues soared by more than 30% by just that one strategy. Didn't cost them anything to do that, by the way. Why? They're already making the fries. And so that's just one example of how when you can bring simplicity to business growth when you're focused on one strategy at a time and being able to implement that and then go to another and go to another. So I'm going to show you this tool. We've identified basically 12 areas that are kind of foundational principles. We call them the first set of no-cost strategies. There's 12 of them. There's basically 40 in totality that a business is ever going to go through. These 12, though, are foundational principles that when a business gets focused on them, they can grow rapidly, specifically their profits. And we have a saying, profit feeds the family, revenue feeds the ego. And that's the reason why we are focused on growing profitability, because that solves a lot of things. There's a lot of businesses out there that are either flat on profit, or they're losing money all the time, or they're just making a few percentage points, which it doesn't make it a sellable business. So these business owners who want to exit at some point, they must have a business that's valuable enough. Well, that requires profit growth. All right. So I'm going to show you this. Show my screen here, and as we jump in, and let me get this here. There we go. And this is a tool that can be used, and it's a kind of an entry-level version of some of the tools that we have that displays how a business can grow, all right? They can even self-apply this themselves. There's a little 3-minute video that they can watch to help explain the power of profit acceleration, all right? And so when we talk about, the challenges of business, most business owners, what they think and understand just either are wrong or they don't understand them correctly, which is the reason why they're not just spending any time in growing their business. So here are the key 12 areas. So I'm going to keep this top level for today. These are the key 12 areas, things like cutting costs, a compelling offer, increasing prices, bundling, downsell, upsells, and cross-sells. That was the do you want fries with that conversation. So let's say that we have a business that is doing $500,000 in annual revenue, okay? And you'll see when we do that automatically, our numbers begin to shift. Let's say our margins, just for context, is 50%. Let's say our net is running at 10%. And if you don't know this, 10% is the average net profit in America. All right. And we'll pick the US dollar here. All right. So you see here, we have a revenue of $500,000. All right. And you've got 50,000 in profit. So at the end of the year, that's what the business says. That's how much money we made because of our 10% profit. So let's take a look at upsells and cross-sells, for instance, okay? And if all we did, and this is the power of what I'm about to explain, if all we did in this one example, if we created a 3% lift, that would be $7,500 for the year, all right? Just 3%. So you'll notice It's a impact on, we call it 3%, but our profits went from 50,000 to 57.5 by just adding the impact in that one area. But here's what I want you to take a look at. If all we did was to apply a half of that in each of the original 12 areas, look what happens down here below. We have doubled the profits of the business. And why? Because we have taken small incremental adjustments through multiple strategies. Now, you're not going to do this overnight, but I want you to understand the power of what can happen when we can work through and find, in this business example, $6,300 just in cutting some cost, $3,500 in creating uniqueness in the business and being able to be more competitive, having a better compelling offer. And so this is what acceleration looks like. And just like compound interest, when you've got the compound effect of one strategy stacked up on one strategy, stacked up on one strategy, and so on, that's where it gets really powerful. Here's what a lot of businesses do, though. They want to go in and do crazy things and try to get a lot of results from one area. And so you see, it's very difficult. Like, you slash $45,000 annually, something is not going to function correctly potentially, or it's somebody's job, or they cut marketing or whatever, which has further implications to it. Get my words out. Or, the same thing here. You bundling. We worked through trying to bundle it. 25. That sounds like what? We can do that. It's actually really hard to do in just one area. That's why the power of the compound effect works really well when we are doing it in small doses. All right. And so the name of the game is we want to go one strategy at a time. So if we're sitting down with a business in the very beginning and it's been years since they've increased their prices, especially since inflation, we're likely going to go through, let's take a peek at pricing. We're going to walk through that with them. So, and then what happens is that they can click this deep dive further, and then they can see what it looks like for all 40 strategies. And last thing for context, when prospects of ours in our system do this, and they fill out this information, they can get their own roadmap. That's not it. Here it is. That is going to show them just the ways to process what it looks like to implement some of these strategies. So, for instance, in this case, in this business case, with this example, we found $168,000 in profit impact over the first 12 areas. And here's what those areas look like. So let's say that they wanted to say, well, what is a downsell? I'm really not sure what that looks like or what it would look like for my business. I can click on number 7. It's going to come right here, and it's going to give some steps to things to consider and a small overview video of understanding what a downsell is and what it can do and the power it can do for their business. And so these are tools. This is the tool we called a simulation tool, and it's a little brother to our overall assessment tool that we use to visually help a business see. If you're curious about, hey, how could that work in my business, and you'd like to talk about it, just let me know. You can go to either, depending on how you're finding this video, if you're on a landing page, there's probably a button to schedule a time to chat about it, or you can go to businesscoachmastery.com. That's businesscoachmastery.com, and you can get some information there on our Done For You system, and certainly you can schedule a chat to learn more about these kinds of tools that we use and then some. All right, until next time, take care.